पॉलिसी बाजार पर 1 करोड़ रुपए का टर्म लाइफ इंश्योरेंस केवल 450 रुपए महीने से शुरू। Wow.
Some developing news, and the news that we are now getting is that the Director General of Civil Aviation has hit out at Air India's top leadership in a very strongly worded letter asking how exactly they actually allowed that situation to take place on an Air India flight from New York to Delhi, where a man unzipped himself and urinated on a 70-year-old co-passenger in business class on the 26th of November. The aviation watchdog saying that the crew assisted the female passenger. The aviation watchdog has said, in fact, let me bring you a few details of this because I've got the note with me. They've sought details from Air India, and they say that prima facie it emerges that provisions related to the handling of an unruly passenger on board have not been complied with. The conduct of the concerned airline appears to be unprofessional and has led to a systemic failure. Now, this is very, very important. These graphics, in fact, let's remove these graphics. That's not what I'm talking about over here. If you can just come back to me, because what I'm referring to now, and because there's been a series of back and forth, that graphics that you saw over there was Air India's account to the Directorate General of Civil Aviation. This is what I'm talking about. This is what the DGCA, the government, has actually told Air India in response to that letter, where they say prima facie it lacks an appreciation of regulatory obligations, right? The airline, so I'll just read that again. The conduct of the concerned airline, Air India, appears to be unprofessional and has led to a systemic failure. Prima facie, it lacks appreciation of regulatory obligations as described under the aircraft rules, the civil aviation requirements, the cabin safety circular, the operations manual of Air India, their safety and emergency procedures manual, etc., etc. As significantly, the DGCA says that Air India's handling of the situation is devoid of empathy. So very strong words over there. And in view of this, the DGCA has issued a show cause notice to the accountable manager of Air India, the director of in-flight services, all the pilots and cabin crew members who were on this flight, and they have 2 weeks to respond. Now, the key point over here is after this incident took place, the passenger in question, who the police are hunting for presently in Mumbai, because apparently he lives over there, was allowed to get away. He wasn't arrested. There was no law enforcement called at the airport to take him away, despite him having done something like this. So the regulator has given Air India 2 weeks to reply, and they've hit out very strongly at the airline. This come amidst reports that another incident involving a passenger urinating on another passenger has also recently, and I'm talking about the last couple of weeks, taken place on Air India. The airline has neither confirmed nor denied this as yet. We've reached out to the Civil Aviation Ministry and the Director General of Civil Aviation for more details on that case as well. Well, joining us now, Captain S.S. Banesar and Dr. Sanat Kaul. Let me go across to you first, Dr. Kaul. Do you believe that the response of the DGCA is appropriate, that there is dereliction? And I'll tell you what they've said. The DGCA wants to know why enforcement action should not be taken against them for dereliction of their regulatory obligations. Right? That's the bottom line over here, dereliction of responsibility.
Yeah.
Do you believe the DGCA's response is good, is correct? Dr. Kaul.
Yeah, I do agree that it was dereliction of duty, because captain, the commander of the flight, like any ship, the captain of a ship, is solely in charge of law and order and maintenance of the aircraft in flight, and he should have taken action. He should have informed the air control tower. While aircraft is on flight, it is an Indian registered aircraft, even it may be on high seas or anywhere else. It is the captain, it is the commander of the flight who's in charge, and this issue should have been taken up immediately. There should have been a police van waiting to take him away. He was allowed to leave this independently. Plus, the lady in question, or the person in question on whom he urinated, was not given sufficient help. In fact,
sure,
from what it appears, she was largely left to her own devices, that, you sit back on the same chair, the dirty chair, and so on. So it is something which is something not acceptable, the behavior, and this appears to be the second time Air India is doing this. So there is a need.
Sure, there
to
is
take
a need.
action.
Sure.
The second thing is also the safety of the aircraft. Once these things start happening, the safety of the aircraft is also a matter of great concern. International Civil Aviation Organization has come out with directives on unruly and such passengers who are misbehaving, and they have to be followed too.
Sure.
There have been conventions also on this, on international flights, on flights which are taking place
Dr.
over
Kaul,
high
just
seas.
half a second. I
Yes.
also want to bring in Captain Panesar over here. Captain Panesar, a quick response to you from you on another sentence which the DGCA's letter says, and I quote, "The conduct of the concerned airline appears to be unprofessional and has led to a systemic failure. It lacks prima facie appreciation of regulatory obligations." A systemic failure is very, very strong words over here. It's it's an old airline but with new owners. They're trying to reorganize themselves, and this comes at a bad time for Air India, quite besides the incident itself.
Well, Vishnu ji, let me tell you at the outset, हिंदी में कहते हैं सांप निकल गया लकीर को पीट रहे हैं. Snake has gone and now they're beating the track of the snake. The question is immediate, a pilot has an operation manual where the powers are given to him to take care of any situation in flight. The first and foremost thing would be to inform the security and the police before arrival in Delhi and before the disembarkation procedure, this chap should have been handed over to the police. You see, urinating in a public place is not permitted, and doing it in a business class with a lady and obscene scene and all that, he should have been straightway taken into the jail. He should have been taught a lesson so that in future people are careful about it. Why airline has woken up after 1.5 months? Now these inquiries will have no value. He will use his money, power, influence and all that. Nothing will come out of these inquiries except they said the airline, they should be more powerful and all that.
Right.
Pilot has got the powers. He has operation manual. Even in a ship when he's going, he has got all even the judicial powers to take action on board the ship, which is on a 1 month cruise. Now, captain has the powers. He should have immediately put him to the police, hand over to the police, let the law take its own course.
Dr. Kaul, let me ask Dr. Kaul a question, sir.
Such incidents should not be taken very lightly.
Dr. Kaul, Captain, half a second, Captain. Let me ask Dr. Kaul as well. The Press Trust of India, and I'm trying to get more detail on this, is reporting in a very major article that 10 days after this particular incident, there was an incident which took place on an Air India flight, AI-142, which I believe was on a flight from Paris to New Delhi, where again a passenger urinated, right? Another episode of a drunk male passenger urinating on a blanket of a female passenger on this particular sector. Again, no penal action was pressed after the passenger gave a written apology. I mean, that's bizarre. You apologize and you get away. And I think that is something which is unacceptable. Dr. Kaul?
You're absolutely right. This is a criminal offense and should be treated like one. The captain or the commander of the aircraft has full powers, and it amounts to dereliction of his own powers. He's not using them.
Just one detail over here on this particular incident, which took place on the 6th of December. AI-142's commander did inform air traffic control. The male passenger was apprehended, but then was allowed to go. So it was handled differently. It was handled differently and perhaps appropriately. But the fact of the matter is that in as much as we slam Air India, we need to really be talking about passengers. It's bizarre that something like this, and we talk about it all the time, nobody seems to do any action. Our passengers are some of the worst, most boorish passengers anywhere in the world. Captain Panesar, I can see your hand, sir. You're on air. Can you move your hand down, Captain Panesar? Could you tell us, Captain Panesar, about your thoughts on poorly behaved passengers on our airlines? It keeps happening.
See, Vishnu ji, you cannot compromise with the criminal cases. Apology is not the answer.
Right.
That's why these things are increasing. Why that man was not caught immediately by the security of the police? I understand the cabin crew, there was no other fight among the passengers, but this is a very serious incident, and to stop recurrence of these things, They have to take a serious action. And I'm still surprised why the airline has woken up after so much of time. Now, these inquiries and by DGCA and all that, they'll not bring anything. They just blame each other. And they now give recommendations and all that. What is the use? The incident again took place between Paris-Delhi flight. If that man would have been put into jail, I'm sure this Paris-Delhi incident would have not taken place.
All right. Look, gentlemen, I'd like to thank you both very much for joining us. This is absolutely shocking. What the regulator says, it just won't be tolerated. Hopefully action will be taken.